YouTube, what's up? Jamar here, Vegas Sense. Another video from All Fragrances, and this is going to be the last video that I'm doing of the 3 samples that they sent me, and that's going to be on their interpretation of Mason Francis Kurkdjian's Baccarat Rouge 540. So the name of their interpretation of this is Crystal number 23. And that's the label that comes on the bottle. And again, this is a pretty large 13 milliliter travel sample that they actually sent me. I did receive this for free, but this review of the product is definitely going to be my own opinion. And just getting started here, I do actually enjoy this fragrance. The fragrance, in my opinion, it does lean to be a bit feminine. It's not necessarily the most masculine scent in the world, but I do think that, you know, any male or female could definitely wear this particular fragrance with no problem. I think it just all depends on, you know, how confident you are in yourself and, you know, how comfortable you are with wearing certain scents that might be more feminine leaning. So anyway, just going here on the initial spray, when you first spray this on, for the most part, you just get saffron, for the most part, is what I would say. And, you know, saffron is the main thing that I get pretty much throughout this whole entire scent, you know, from the initial spray, pretty much until the fragrance dies, which I'll talk about in a minute. This fragrance doesn't die very easily or very quickly. So this scent, it is sort of misleading, at least for me. When I first sprayed this on, it sort of smelled like it would just be like maybe like a light, you know, kind of fresh scent, you know, not anything too heavy or cloying. And so when I first sprayed this on, I sprayed, I think, about 4 or 5 sprays of this, and it quickly reminded me that it definitely was not something that was like super light. This can become quite heavy, I would say, probably once you start getting over maybe 2 to 3 sprays, and it is something that can start to generate a headache, especially like if you're, you know, more on the sensitive side when it comes to fragrances. So with this particular fragrance, even with this little travel atomizer, I would say maybe 1 or 2 sprays is really all you need. You know, this stuff is really, really, really strong. And, you know, again, it comes from that saffron note, that even though the saffron is a top note, like I said, it stays throughout the whole entire life of the fragrance. And so just going over the notes of this fragrance, you know, it is pretty simple. So in the top notes, you have jasmine and saffron. And then in the mid, you have ambergris, as well as amber wood. And then in the base, you have cedar and fir resin. So again, saffron, that's the main thing that I get from this. Now, I don't know how accurate or close this is to the original Baccarat Rouge 540 because I've never smelled that particular fragrance, and I also don't have any other interpretations of Baccarat Rouge 540 to go off of, because this is going to be the first interpretation of that scent that I've smelled. But again, as with the other all fragrances that, you know, I've reviewed on this channel, just like those other ones, this one is no different when it comes to the quality of smell. You know, they really seem to have like their blending process, or, you know, whatever they do to compose these fragrances is really top notch. And, you know, it definitely is along the lines of what you would expect from, you know, a higher end luxury type fragrance house. And, you know, you don't always necessarily get that type of quality from a clone house. Now, clone houses are definitely getting better at, interpretations of fragrances or cloning fragrances, but you can typically smell the difference in quality between, let's say something like Armaf and, the original fragrance that they're trying to interpret. Some of the better clone houses are obviously houses like Alexandria. I would say, definitely Sensual Obsessions. And even, I've smelled a few Babylon fragrances, interpretations, and those seem to have a nice quality as well to them. So, definitely we have a lot of good choices when it comes to, clones or interpretations. And just going back to the performance on this particular fragrance, this fragrance, no lie, it lasted, even on my skin, it lasted well over 12 hours. And it was pretty strong even after the 12-hour mark. I would say it was probably projected that whole entire time, which is normally unheard of for a fragrance. So, again, you want to go light on the sprays with this one. Now, as far as occasions to wear this particular fragrance, I would say, at least for me, this would probably be a fragrance that I would more so maybe wear to like more upscale type events where I'm dressing up a little bit more. I wouldn't necessarily wear this to anything where I'm just dressing casually, like jeans and a t-shirt or shorts and a t-shirt. I mean, maybe if you wanted to do that, that would be fine. Maybe you could pull it off. I just personally wouldn't do it. This would be a more upscale scent. I would also say, and I mean, this is no disrespect to the scent, but I would say this would be a good scent to maybe wear to church. Maybe one spray underneath your shirt that you're wearing or whatever, or just directly on your chest, and you have your clothes over it. This is strong enough that I think that it would still have a presence, but it wouldn't be too strong that everybody in the entire church or on that entire pew would be able to smell you. So again, this is definitely a unisex fragrance that I think both men and women could wear. This scent profile does get compared to Ariana Grande's Cloud, I believe is what it's called. And I've never smelled that particular fragrance, but I've heard that it smells a lot like Baccarat Rouge 540. And it would make sense because, again, in my opinion, this is a bit more feminine leaning on, the unisex scale, I guess you would call it. So as far as performance on this particular fragrance goes, this is a 10 out of 10. Like I said, it projected for like 12 hours on me, lasted for well beyond that. As far as the longevity goes, 10 out of 10. And as far as the smell of this goes, I would have to give this a solid 8 out of 10. It's not like the most spectacular thing that I've smelled before. I don't really see myself wearing this fragrance in too many situations, definitely not casually, but I could still see myself wearing it in some situations. So, the wearability of it isn't as high as some other fragrances out here, but it does have a place, I would say, for both men and women. All right. So overall, I would have to give it about an 8.5 out of 10. All right. So again, you can pick this up on allfragrances.com. I believe they sell this in these sizes, and then I think the biggest size is like 50 or 60 milliliters for about $35. So really good deal there as well. And yeah, man, go ahead and check them out. So again, that's crystal number 3, All Fragrances, Jamar, Vegas Scents. I'll see y'all in the next video.